Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the MFL Ramble. We are joined this week, as always, by our glorious Scottish co-host one, that is Hoodwink. How are you today, mate?
I'm very good, thanks.
Nice. He's got a new cable for his mic, so you'll see like dramatic improvement in the quality of his audio. But we're also joined for a fleeting visit before he ducks off to the airport. Kev Hurd, how are you today, mate?
Yes, sir. Very good. Glad to be here. Nice to get half an hour to pop in and chat to you boys.
Yeah, nice. It's nice to be around, isn't it? And this week, for the first time ever, we are joined by a manager who has, I think, a similar amount of clubs to me. He's been playing the game for quite a while, and that is Whitehouse. How are you, Whitehouse?
I'm good. Thanks for the invite on today to talk about MFL. Delighted to come on and chat, especially with Kev as well, since I've been talking to him since the start. He's the kind of fella that I'd be messaging always about tactics. Am I doing okay? He's going to help me get up them divisions, to be honest. So I have to thank him.
Yeah, no, he's the tactical genius, isn't he? He's the person we all go to when things aren't going right and say, mate, what can I do? Before we move on, I think at the moment we've got a few people in the chat, but the only person that has said anything at the moment is Bob Flynn. Good morning, Bob. How's it going, mate? Are you doing well in Diamond now? I think the results sort of were great to start off with and then tailed off a little bit, didn't they? But I'm confident Bob and Sid can sort of have a brilliant end to the season, and Sid is obviously smashing it at the moment. But today we're going to speak about we'll speak about our seasons. Obviously, we're at the halfway point of the season. The cup groups are all finished. We've also got the pack drop tonight, so I'll be trying to persuade Hoodwink to prize open his dusty wallet, let the little flies and dust out, and get his card out and buy some packs. Of course, this week we have we're going to speak about sort of tactics and progression. Now, I'm about halfway through the When Dirk podcast from last week, and they were definitely covering some of the stuff that I wanted to speak about, and I found it really fascinating listening to sort of trust the process and help me, who's the other guy on there? Ron John, that's it, Ron John. And it's fascinating listening to them and sort of how they play the game and sort of their views and sort of, foil hat moments on progression. But I do tend to agree with trust the process, I think, anyway, on some of the stuff. But we'll speak about that in a bit more later on anyway. And obviously training. I don't know whether it's the same for everybody, but definitely for me, like training has been sort of a lot lower this season, although I have been getting still getting the +1s and, progression through matches and stuff like that. But we'll speak about that in a bit more in a while. Tactics. I think this is the same every season, but this season especially, it feels like sort of there's certain ways to play the game that were completely different to how you played the game last season or even the season before that. And that sort of, thrown quite a lot of managers, completely, I don't know, down the toilet, I guess, for want of a better word. But so it'd be interesting to sort of, speak about that as well. I guess as we've got Kev only for sort of 30 minutes before he's getting his taxi. Kev, how's your season going, mate?
Yeah, pretty good. Exceeding expectations across the board. I'm sat 5th with the D-Gens and through in the cup. I'm trying to sell the Dandies, so that's a bit of a write-off. I'm currently sat above relegation with them and out of the cup because that's deliberate. I need to focus on saving them in the league. But this man, Whitehouse, is hopefully going to help me out with a couple of loans later on, so I'll be really appreciated as well. The Ramble are flying. Obviously, they're 3rd in the league and through in the cup, joint top with Whitehouse in the cup. So that was good. The Canadian D-Gens, as I like to call them, they're doing well in Iron as well. So they're 2nd and through in the cup. Got through in the last day, so that was really cool. And the lowest 2 teams in Ice and Spark are both 2nd and 3rd and both through in the cup. So all's going well.
So how many teams have you got through in the cup then?
5 out of 6.
5 out of 6. That's pretty incredible. Historically, you haven't done amazingly in the cup, have you? A bit like me. I won the first season, then didn't make it out of the groups for about the next 5 seasons.
No, I've always been a league man. I've always wanted to do well in the league and try and get promotion. But this season, I'm determined to win a cup. I really want to try and win a cup. So, yeah, give it a good go. 3 with 5 teams, got a pretty good chance of at least one, I would say.
Which team went out?
The Dandies. So
Oh,
I had to rest there because I don't have enough cover for the tactical setups that I need. So, yeah, I've kind of shot myself in the foot a bit with the Dandies. But the key there is just to keep them up so I can sell them. I want to sell silver and go lower down with them.
Nice. What about you, Whitehouse, then? So I guess tell us about your story. How did you find MFL? How long have you been playing? What are your teams at the moment?
Well, I went back and had a look to see actually when I joined. And it was around the 16th of December last year. Opened up a pack, started in ice with one team for S2. One ice division first go, and then kind of was from there just kept on just buying more clubs. I bought up the ladder with 2 clubs, including the Montevideo, which is in the Platte, and I also bought the Alcocks. Both, one was iron, one was bronze. So I haven't really started from the bottom, only with the first team that I bought, but I have been going up to divisions with most of my teams every season. Especially with Montevideo, they did 3 back-to-back league titles, bronze, silver, and gold back-to-back. So that's probably the most impressive thing I've done so far. Doing okay this year, through 7 teams through in the cup. Struggling in Platte, holding my own in silver, and then 3 iron teams are all up there fighting for promotion. So can't complain.
Platinum's got to be like incredibly hard because not only do you have sort of a lot of decent teams anyway, but then also, you know, you get teams coming down from Diamond and they may be completely underpowered for Diamond with only like late 80s, 90s rated players. But when you get that into Plat, that's still a decent team. So, you know, you're always going to be sort of, you know, facing a really tough battle getting out of there. But I guess looking at sort of some of the players that you've got in there, you have got a pretty decent squad. I guess this season, like the biggest challenge, like historically, have you played a certain way? Is there a certain formational style that you mirror across all of your teams, or do you sort of like create the different tactics for each team depending on the players that you have?
Well, since the start, I've always played with wingers because I happened to pack a few wingers back when I started. 4-3-3-D, 4-1-2-1-2 narrow were the 2 formations I've kind of settled at. I have never played 3-back at all, even though I've seen Kev and the lads had great success rate over the last few seasons. Not for me. Can't seem to get it to work.
Yeah, same.
Don't have any left and right mid to play a wide formation, really, except for one Lego right mid that I happen to pack at an 84. He's an 85, 86 now, but don't have the left mid to go with it. And apart from that, no, it's usually 4-3-3-D, 4-2-1-2. I kind of stick to that 4 backs all the way through, to be honest.
You're a man after my own heart because I've been essentially, like, I've played lots of different formations, but my go-to formations have always been the 4-3-3s. Like 4-3-3 attacking in the lower divisions, and then 4-3-3 more defensive when you sort of move up. And, you know, I guess this season, like the early testing showed that actually there'd probably be quite decent sort of formations to play with. You know, that's not necessarily turned out to be correct without quite a lot of tweaks to the way I was playing in the past. And I'm certainly not going to give away sort of, you know, formations or, you know, how I've decided to play the rest of the season. I think the only person in the whole world that knows is Kev, and he's sworn to secrecy. But we've been speaking about it and sort of, you know, trying to work out a way to sort of beat the engine. And I don't know whether I've cracked it or not, but certainly the results have picked up in the last few days. And hopefully the back end of the season will be good, and it needs to be. But we'll come on to my teams in a minute.
I think you have, mate. It's an excellent setup. It's really
yeah.
good.
Well, let's just keep our fingers crossed anyway. But yeah. So Whitehouse, what's your aims for the season then? Obviously, you've got the top team in Platinum. Currently, like my main team, are sort of struggling a little bit and sitting in 10th. Do you want to keep them up? Or are you going to focus in on the cup? Are you still in the cups?
I'm still in all 7 cups. So
Oh, look at that. I think we need to be listening to you more often.
I'd love to keep them up for one more season and probably invest a bit of money then near the end of the season, especially with the way the market is at the moment. I would probably buy a few more players to sustain at that kind of level. But then again, I wouldn't mind dropping to gold either, because I think I'd have a much better team to suit gold, to be honest, with my own players rather than loaning in, because I'm giving away 50-60% rev last year and this year to try get there. So I prefer if I had a few of my own players in the team, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Like historically, I hated bringing in loans, but this season, I realised fairly quickly that I was just definitely going to get relegated unless I brought in some players. And luckily, I managed to get a couple of guys in, because 2 of my best wingers retired last season. One of them's retiring this season, and his physical is only like 50 anyway. So honestly, he can play like 1 game in 4. He's like me. He needs a week to recover after any physical exercise, but. Yeah, no, it's I guess fun times, isn't it, with that sort of stuff. So, is that the same? Like, the cup will obviously start. I don't think the fixtures have been done yet, although you can work out who you're going to be playing anyway. You've got 2 games, I think, before the cup comes back. Are you going full gas that first game and then maybe rotate a bit for the cup? Because you can obviously you're in with the top team. You're in the Elite 1 Cup, and that is I'm in Contenders 1, I think, and I'm through, and that is massive money. I'm just having a quick look. Elite 1, you got 4 wins in the group. You get 6,500 MFL for that. So you got over 25,000 MFL, 26,000 MFL straight off the bat. You already got 25,000 for the round of 16. You get another 31,000 for getting up again to the next one.
Yeah.
That's decent MFL, especially when you add it all together across all of your teams. Is that something you're looking to? Is the cup going to be the priority, or?
Not really. I'm kind of more focused on staying up in the league, but I'm still going to put out a strong team in the cup, because I can rotate into a different formation for the cup, especially finishing first. Hoping I get an easier draw against someone that finished second. I was having a look at a few of the teams.
I think you'll be playing MFC Istanbul, won't you, if they follow their normal sort of routine of how they match up the group game.
So I will be playing. I won't be playing full strength on my usual formation, but I will be playing a fairly strong team and going for the cup as well.
Nice. Okay, Hoodwink, how are you getting on, mate?
No bad on some of them. Edinburgh, I think I'm 4th with Edinburgh and Livingston. Both pretty much. I think Edinburgh is probably my best one just now. They're 4th in the league on 19 points. Top of the league are on 23 points. And that's Rory's team. So that's pretty close up there between the 4 of us. Got pumped in the cup, never won a game in the cup, sadly. Livingston are 4th, but to be honest, they're probably just aiming for 3rd. But through in the cup as well. They're always there. They won the cup, I think, in the first season. They've always done pretty well in the cup, so that's nice to get through with them. But the top 2 in that Ice League, they're kind of running away with it. 27 points and 25, and I'm doing on 17. 3rd place is on 18. So that's no bad, just going for the playoff spot. And Daegu.
Well, Daegu were protected 1st or 2nd, weren't they, in the group?
2nd or something stupid, but I told you at the time, it's not happening. It's just avoid relegation. And luckily, there's we're on 13 points. We're 6 points above the relegation zone, luckily. Scored some decent goals. 25 goals have scored, but it's all for 1 man. Big Demchuk scored 15 of them. Again, we're only 5 points away from the playoffs, like the promotion playoffs, no relegation. So you never know. The form's been a lot better. I done quite a bit on the tactics because I was on a very, very bad run. They just getting pumped. So I've won 3 of the last 4. Scored like 5, 10, 12 goals, and drawn another one 0-0, which I love.
Didn't we
So-
watch one of your games last week? I'm sure we watched. We watched Daegu, didn't we, last week? And I think they took the lead on Wednesday night when we did the live stream, and then absolutely went to shit after that.
Poor Daegu.
Yeah,
I had a 7-2 win. So some of the performances are brilliant, but they're just so like bipolar. Like a 4-0 defeat, 2-1 defeat, 4-3 defeat, and then a 5-2 win, 0-0 draw, 5-1 win. They're just a chaotic team. But the tactic switches hopefully are going to work and stop. They just concede a lot of goals as well. Like they're just
you
no
hate
matter
that,
what.
well, don't you? Like you would like, rather win 1-0 than sort of
100%.
yeah.
No matter
Oh, well.
what I tweak as well with them, it works with other teams. But whatever a day, trying low line, high line, wide, like doesn't matter. They concede goals. They score a lot of goals, but it's chaos.
And we've got a
So
Overall, pretty good.
well, exactly. We've got a lot of Timmy Vaughan fans, all throughout the community, and they want to know how's he doing this season. Where's he on loan again?
Oh God, I don't know.
And has he scored? Is
I think he's actually doing all right.
Really? Is he in?
I've got like
Flint?
a good percentage. I think I've got 6% with a 4% clause on him, so he's like playing every game pretty much. Timmy Vaughan, where are we?
You should have put a 4% clause, 10 goals, not appearances. He would never hit that.
11 games, 5 goals, 7 assists.
Oh wow! You can't complain with that. What division is he in?
He is in ice.
Ice, baby. That's his level. But yeah,
9 rating, of course.
nice.
It's all right.
Right. I'll go through my teams quickly then. Start at the bottom. Monkey Matadors going to win the league, through the cup, won every game this season. They have a slightly overpowered team, but like the backups are like 60, 62 rated. So, it's not that much. Like, and usually for me, they're not that overpowered. The Vikings, again, focus with the cup, although we're in third at the moment. And I'm pretty confident that I can sort of like get up towards the top again and have a bit of fun playing. First game back, they're playing Anderlecht Sunshine, which should be a fun game. If I can beat them, then I'm only 2 points off the top. Next team, Monkey Kings. They are a little bit overpowered. They're in ice and they're currently unbeaten, but they're in second. There's another team just above us who we played last game of the season, but that's fun. They are also through in the cup. Monkey Fire, they are the old Bobo Monkey. They have an okay team, not a great team, but they're unbeaten too. But in the cup, which couldn't win a game, I guess the backups are just like pretty rubbish. And also my tactics throughout all of my teams were pretty pony until the last couple of games when I sort of think I might have figured it out, but time will tell. I don't know whether I want to get them promoted anyway, but they're in second. But if you can win the league, you've got to win the league, haven't you? Monkey Thunder, they are in iron, probably a little bit underpowered. They went out of the cup annoyingly, and that was the focus. I just couldn't get anything to work, and they're currently mid-table. I'd just be happy if they stay in that division. And then my two main teams both got promoted last season. I said at the start of the season, this season will be a season about relegation, and that is how it is looking at the moment. Funky Monkey, although like Monkey Magic were in 10th last season and actually came back to win the league. So, never say never, but I'm saying never. Funky Monkey are currently in 10th, but they are through the cup. I think they won 5 games and drew 1 in the cup, but I've only won 3 games all season in the league. But again, I think these new tactics are definitely going to help me and I can sort of rise up. And I just want them to stay in bronze. My main team, Monkey Magic, went into the season with high hopes, could not get tactics to work, had a major change after probably 4 games and kept persisting with that for a while. Just couldn't get that to work either. I can score goals. That is not a problem, but I can also concede a shitload of goals. So that has been a problem. But they made it through in the cup as well. 3 wins, 2 draws and 1 single loss. But again, results have been slightly better sort of recently. And I'm hopeful that I can keep them up. I really want to keep them up. We're at the moment with 4 points off ninth, and obviously ninth, you're still not guaranteed to stay up. But yeah, if I can string some matches together, I don't know about whether to focus on the cup with that. Like, there's so much MFL on the line in that. But I should be able to, squeeze out some decent teams. But yeah. Let's talk about tactics then. Kev, what do we got here for about another 5-10 minutes?
Yeah.
This season, the engine, I don't think anybody knows exactly, apart from maybe Quentin and Yax and the team, about exactly what changes they made. But the upshoot of it is that through balls are completely OP and they're really hard to defend against. And the amount of through balls that, a lot of teams concede, and like even sort of, various settings just can't stop them, conceding. Now, there are ways to sort of mitigate it. I've been trying certain things. I don't know whether that's going to be successful. Time will tell. And it also sounds like they've obviously, prioritized this as an issue, and they have worked on it for the experimental engine for next season. So this shouldn't be so much of an issue next season. Kev, going to you first. How have you found this engine so far this season?
That was an interesting one to crack when I was testing in sort of late pre-season. But yeah, I was a bit gutted that 3 at the backs are no longer viable, because I kind of built all my teams for 4-1-2-1-2 and rotating into 3-5-2s. So, but yeah, 3 at the backs, just the defensive AI can't cope with this through ball meta. So you need either 4 or 5 at the back. And I'm finding that a lot of crosses and wide through balls are working really well. So yeah, it's an interesting one for sure. But I'm enjoying it now that I've figured it out.
Yeah, it takes time, doesn't it? I don't know whether, historically, you've done okay at the start of the season because you do a lot of preseason testing. I did some preseason testing this time, obviously not enough, because I thought that 4-3-3 defensive, 4-3-3 attacking looked like they'd work, and they did look like they would work right at the start of the season. Then I started getting caught out. But so I think it's a constant evolution. And historically, my teams have been poor starters and then done better the second half of the season. But what about you, Whitehouse? How did you find the engine at the start of the season? What are your sort of thoughts on it now? What sort of have you been changing tactics dramatically during the season?
Yeah, I have been doing a lot of testing all throughout since the start of the season, trying to change things up to stop the through ball, and especially that ball from the wide players to the striker first time in around the back, and then just finishing it one-on-one with the keeper. That's the one that I can't seem to stop, no matter what I do. Weight, compactness, everything. With my silver team, the 4-3-3-D has been playing pretty good for me, to be honest. I was looking at some of your results, Monkey, recently, where you were 20 shots on target and drawn games with it. I seem to be a bit more lucky with it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's very true. I don't know whether it could be variance. It could be that I was just conceding too many goals, but I have made changes. And my last couple of games, I'm still creating chances, and they've been a little bit better defensively. But yeah, it is tough.
Yeah, because I have a good right winger on that silver squad, like the right wing, left wing you have. I think maybe you were after him on loan as well at the start of the season. That's the guy that I have, the right wing with 94 finishing, but his passing isn't high enough, really, to be honest.
Oh yeah, of course it was you, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I end up yeah, but you got a good one as well, I seen.
I did eventually, yeah. No, Cracker, who's had 2+2 progression this season. I think he's got 87 now. So yeah, it's all worked out well.
The 4-3-3 seems to be working for me in iron. In silver, it seems to be okay. And as for plat, I'm one of the lowest rated teams in the division, changing it up the whole time, but working on something now for the second half of the season. I was talking to Kev as well about what works, and I did play it once or twice and got a result, my only result so far this season. But in the cup, the 4-3-3 was working for me because I was playing lower rated teams, to be honest, than what's in the plat division. So
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, sometimes you can get lucky, can't you? Like the groups are obviously done on top 11 players each squad has, but if their backups aren't great and they run their backups in the cup, then you can have a bit of an easy ride. But it's quite good. I'm just looking in the chat. Andy official. There's a few teams. I think he's in one of my divisions as well. It says I only play 4-3-3 attacking since season 1, and I just adjust it based on opponents, and I'm very successful, even if he does say so himself. But yeah, and I'm like starting to think that most formations can work against most formations, but it depends how you set up your team. Like, not so much the tactics you play, although I do think Kev's right. 3 backs this season are struggling a lot. And I have seen maybe 2 managers that are doing okay with it. But I'd love to know what tactics they've got set up. But yeah, it does seem like sort of 4-3-3, has always been reliable for me. But the further up the pyramid you go, I found it less and less successful.
Sorry, boys, I need to go, but lovely to see you.
See you guys.
Pleasure.
See you later on. I'll listen later on.
Good to see you, Kev.
Cheers, boys.
Right.
One question, right? So I remember Kev mentioned this in the group chat about crosses, and he says, "Oh, like everyone should be playing a high crossing and stuff like that." And then you've just mentioned it as well about not being able to like defend crosses, right? I don't know why, but on my main team, right, I've got Norgren, 90 passing, plays my left mid, 84 rated. From 101 crosses this season, he's got five crosses. 5 crosses at 101. My right mid, Decker, he's 83 rated with 88 passing, 39 crosses, 0 have connected. 0. What am I doing wrong?
Well, I do think that, like, from the point of view of the engine, I think crosses are can be far more successful this season. Like, if you look at how they were last season, like the ball would constantly go over the top, sometimes out of play for throw in for the opposing team. It would be rare that they would connect. And I don't think I scored a single goal from a cross last season. This season you can, whether that be like ones that look like they're crosses in front and the striker knocks it in, or whether sometimes like players can score what looks like headers, where it's put into the box and there's a few people in there. Oh, it looks like we've lost Whitehouse. Hopefully he'll log back in a sec. But yeah, no, you can definitely sort of do that this season. And it's quite difficult sort of trying to work out whether like which players or what tactics to put on. Like, I've experimented with having more crossing, and he's back again. And I've experimented this season having like more crosses on players, but it is super difficult trying to sort of get any sort of consistency with it at all. And I do feel like if you've got wingers or if you've got people putting crosses, often you're wasting a lot of chances. And so that's how I've deviated a bit away from crosses now.
I play left and right mid. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know what the problem is, but I need to take them off. Like, honestly, it's like abysmal. 5 out of 101, 0 to 39, 0 to 17, 1 out of 15. Like everything's just shocking. So I might just ditch them. Like, how can you have 0 out of 39 with 88 passing? 0.
Yeah, you would expect better than that. I guess before we move on, now Kev's not here and we can have us 3 stacked up on top. Let's just give a shout out to the beautiful new homepage that was gone live this week. And I suspect that this is the start of the rebrand, or not the rebrand, the site redesign that they spoke about a couple of months ago. And it'll be interesting to see whether that comes in for next season. I guess, sort of going back to tactics before we sort of move on to other stuff, Whitehouse, do you change your tactics for every game, or do you try and find something that works and then sort of keep going with that until it doesn't work and then find something new again?
Well, last season in gold, I ran a 4-3-3 all season and just changed it up slightly depending on who was playing. If I was a stronger team, I go more offensive, just switch it up like that. But last season, that 4-3-3, I thought just worked perfectly, and it got me into flat 1 goal first attempt with it. But this season, it's I have to change up every single game. Have a look at what the opposition has been playing. Hopefully, figure out what will work against a bit of testing against other strong teams, and then fingers crossed. That's basically it. Always changing, especially with the Plat team. As for the rest of them, kind of stick to the same formation and tactics, to be honest.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I have like different variations. Like, for some of my teams, I can run 4-3-3 attacking and then 4-3-3 defense, or 4-3-3 flat, or stuff like that. What about you, Hoodwink? Do you sort of mix it up, or do you sort of find something that works and sort of stick with that until it doesn't work anymore?
Kind of, aye. I mean, like I do a lot of testing before the season, then I kind of get usually 3, but 2 that I would ever really think of playing, and then I just pray that that it works for like day one. And for some teams it does, and I really just stick with it. And even like I've got a 4-2-3-1 setup. I don't think I've played it once all season, so I really just stick to the 4-1-2-1-2. And then when I'm switching players, I did individual instructions a wee bit, but not a huge amount different. But it's usually when I'm going through a bad runny form, I didn't completely change it, but I tweak a lot of the stuff that might work for one team, but it's not working with others. And just, again, a bit of testing. Then if I change it and I get like Daegu, for example, they were just horrible as usual, conceding 7 goals and stuff like that, or whatever, 5 goals. So I know that's not working, and I know I can't just leave it. So that one I played about with quite a bit, tweaked it, and a lot of it's like the individual instructions, because I felt like because I build on it each season, I use very similar kind of the formation, and like my tactics are very similar season to season, but then I put my individual instructions on, and after every season, because I'm tweaking it again, I felt like I'd kind of overcomplicated the individual instructions, I think. So I went back to basics, stripped them right back, and then I'm undefeated in 4 after this one. So usually when I switch it up, I'm just looking for a good reaction from my team where I'm hitting a few wins or draws, or just basically not getting pumped, even if I'm not winning, like it's a performance that I'm looking for. And I basically stick with that until it stops working, as you say. Then if it does stop working, again, is it a run of like 2 or 3 games, which I can deal with? Or is it like, 6, 7 in a row where it's just completely dead? And then I switch it up again, and I'm not really one for switching tactics a lot. Switching formations a lot. It's more tactics, really. And I think
exactly the same. Like, I will stick with very similar formation. In most of my teams, like Monkey Magic and a couple of the other teams can run several formations. And depending on rotations, I do sort of switch between them. But the fundamental tactics of how they play, I only tweak depending on whether opponent I feel is better than me or whether I feel they're worse than me. And it's sort of quite difficult trying to sort of find any sort of consistency with certain tactics earlier on in the season. But now, like, I do feel like I did sort of, a lot of sort of matches against various people over the last few days, tried doing it against sort of stronger opponents and sort of weaker opponents. And the results were sort of okay, or they have been last couple of days since I've tweaked it a bit more. Time will tell whether that, I've sort of cracked the code for my teams. I don't think it necessarily work with a lot of teams because you need to rely on certain stats, but it is quite sort of difficult sort of moving around and trying to find sort of, something that works. And I know they don't change the engine during the season, and, that's always been, but it often feels like they have changed the engine. Like certain things will work, start off, and then suddenly just stop working. And I think probably the reality is that people just work out how to counter those things that you're doing. And that's why it's stopping to work rather than the engine changing itself. But
Fatigue and stuff like that comes into it as well, because when you go into the second half of the season, you've played 17 games maybe. So even if you've been rotating well, it does kind of start to catch up. And if people take advantage of that, if you're playing, like I played a game the other day where I had normally if it hits like 95%, I switch them out. But was it yesterday I had a game, and maybe it was Chadinelli or something like that. I needed to play, or maybe I can't remember, but I needed them to play. So like I played them at 95%, which I rest him at that time. That was an important game. He dropped below that. So when the season kicks off again in a few days, it's going to be like he's like 92, 93% now, which means I'm probably going to give him a couple of days rest, which means my team's kind of drops in quality a wee bit and that kind of thing. So even if it's not just tactics that kind of look like they're not working now, it's maybe you're switching your team a lot more than you would in the first half of the season, which drops the quality.
No, Chadinelli here saying he's 99% fitness.
You know what? I think it was my Livy team, actually. I think it was maybe Sean Carr. Oh, no, it was my Polish striker for Livy, I think. What did he go to? 90?
It definitely is. Like, one other thing I find really tough is I've got a few guys that are either retiring or close to retirement. My best goalkeeper who, I can't afford to replace at the moment. And just, there's no way around it. I knew going into this season it might be a problem. He's retiring at the end of this season. He's one of my best players. But, I didn't pay much for him. So that doesn't hurt too much. But the fact that he's in the final year of his career means that his fitness goes down. It actually doesn't go down too badly. It's just recovering that just takes forever. So at the moment he can play sort of like either, I'll probably let him rest now for the next 2 games, try and get him as high as possible because then I can play him in the cup. But my backup keeper is 83 rated, which doesn't, it's okay, but it means I have to put the captain's armband on him, to get him up to the sort of a similar standard. And it's just tough to sort of trying to grind out results with that. Whitehouse, do you have any players that are close to retirement, or you just bin them off? Do you sell them to people like me?
No, I don't sell any players. I haven't sold anyone of significance since I started playing. I do have a few players, but not over 74 rated that are retiring, to be honest. I have packed, if you take a look at the 90 rated CDM, 32, 33. He's improving every season. Packed, he was minted at a 28-year-old, and he's absolutely flying. He's up to 90 rated CDM this season, 91 centre back. I have a few old guys, none of them thrown up the sign just yet, so getting away with that.
They can go on forever. I mean, they can't go on forever, obviously, but they can go on for, what's the last? Is it 32? 42? They can retire. Is that the latest retirement?
Aye.
Yeah, I've just got a few guys that I hope do that. Sorry about we've got obviously got Whitehouse joining us this week. He lives in Ireland by the sea, and his internet isn't great at the best of times. He was telling us before we start recording, so he will be ducking in and out, unfortunately. But we thought it'd be good. We like getting new people on here that haven't necessarily done content before, and it's just interesting sort of listening to sort of their views on some of the stuff. I guess like talking about, now we sort of moved on sort of like retirement ages, progression. Hoodwink, is progression different this season than it has been in previous seasons?
I don't know, because some days it feels really, really slow. And then, like my current season, my highest is like a +3, a 51 rated guy. But like Big Daddy likes, he's up to 83. He's had a +2 this season, which is brilliant for like a high rated rare. And then my guy that I've got on loan at Laird, he's a newly minted, I think, fair reward pack at the end of last season. He's a +2. I've got a decent amount of +2s. Only one +3, but we're only halfway through the season, and loads of +1s, loads of individual increases.
And obviously, like, we spoke about it at the start of the season, or like a few weeks ago anyway, about your star boy, Alan Santos. He'd been stuck at 84 for what felt like an eternity. But he finally tear broke this season and has gone that glorious, glorious colour.
And Sean Carr, he's my progression guy that started at 65 like 2 seasons ago, and he's just went to a 74 yesterday, I think. So it does feel slow. Like some days when I'm coming on in the morning and it's like, God, like maybe I've had 1, maybe 2, or like 0 in just some individual increases. And it's not as exciting as when you've got like 6, 7 in a day and you're getting the ped gifts on the Discord and stuff like that. So it feels a bit slower, but.
And I don't know whether you guys have listened to sort of When Dirk this week. I haven't listened to all of it yet. I'll try and catch all the rest of it before obviously Pack Drop tonight, because normally there's a few things that you have to listen to the show for. But it will be interesting to sort of find out whether, it'll be interesting to find out whether they've got like what the rest of the stuff that they say on progression, because where I stopped it when I got in for my walk a couple of days ago, they were talking about sort of the progression side. And I think that trust the process was the mindset that definitely something has changed. I'm of that mindset as well. I'll tell you what I think in a minute, but Whitehouse, while we've got you on here, well, your internet's good for a second. What do you think of progression this season?
Yeah, I watched the full thing with Trust and Ranjan, and I totally agree with Trust, to be honest. I definitely think I've personally seen a slowdown of progression, especially with some of the lower rated players that have been progressing well, much slower this season. And all my rares since mid-season last season really slowing down. Even people that were doing pretty well, it just seems to just trickle in here and there a lot more.
It is. It's like looking at my gallery now, and it's quite interesting sort of looking at some of the players that now, I have got some older guys, and I don't necessarily expect those guys to get much progression, but it's the younger guys, the ones that were sort of nailing progression, constantly over the last couple of seasons. And they were the ones that, have been getting like +2 every season. Sometimes they're +4, and they're the ones that have just been slowing down dramatically. I guess in terms of, progression, like the top end cards that I have, some of them are quite old, and I don't necessarily expect huge amounts of progression with those. And obviously we know that the progression cycle is different for every single player. So it's quite difficult to sort of, predict what would happen with sort of players that, are, in that sort of range. I guess that I also know that within my agency, certainly I had a lot of progression at the back end of last season. You see these little bars on the screen here. That's the web extension that I use, the MFL Leaks Companion app that you plug in for Chrome. And that shows you how close they are. And I noticed at the start of the season that quite a few of my top cards were a little way away from sort of progressing. So, I wasn't necessarily expecting a lot at the top end, but it's the lower end, and especially sort of dev center players that I sort of expected maybe to get sort of more progression on. Like Whitehouse, do you use dev jail at all?
Yeah, I do. I just end up throwing in people that I can't get loans for, basically throw them in close to the season where the transfer window closing. I don't really have any amazing progressors down in the lower ratings, to be honest. Try get playing time for anyone that looks like they're progressing well. I don't really like throwing them in there for 4 seasons. I prefer get them out there playing and see how they do.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I do use dev jail, but yeah, you're right. Generally, it's either really young guys and I just want to stick them in there for a few seasons, see if they can sort of get that 120% XP rather than sort of whatever 80, 90 XP if they went out to a team, where they're being rotated constantly. Again, Whitehouse, you got any theories why this might be the case?
I think they might have did something with it just to slow down the power creep, to be honest. That's what Trust is kind of suggesting in a way. Too many players turn rare, too many players turning into Lego. Power creep is just insane, really, because even to compete at silver level now, you need nearly a full team of Legos, to be honest, if you want to be up there at the top. And as for gold, you're 88 plus minimum, 90 rated if you want to be up near the top. And then same for plat, whereas 2 or 3 seasons ago, it was much different, to be honest. So I think maybe just a slight adjustment on progression, slightly change something.
That definitely makes sense. And, that wouldn't surprise me at all. I know like other games as well have looked into like power creep becomes a real issue over time. And on MFL, it has, as you just said, it's exactly the same. A lot of players, it's a lot tougher now trying to sort of, win divisions. Like I remember when I started, putting sort of 72, 73 rated players into like ice was completely overpowered. But now 72, 73 rated players in ice is fairly standard. And if you don't have them, you're probably going to be sort of struggling during the season, even having the odd rares and stuff like that in sort of like ice now. In stone, if you want to get promoted, you probably need a whole team of rares. And then when you move up to sort of like, iron and bronze, even in bronze last season, there were loads of Legos in my division. This season is just completely absurd. The amount of sort of players that we've got in there, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Like, do you think that could be a potential reason why Hoodwink, or do you think it's just sort of, or do you think there could be something else?
I mean, it could be. And if they did, I think that would be the main reason, because I think it's tougher every season, obviously. So it would make sense. I just don't know if they have like I'm not a big tinfoil hat guy, and like my progression's not been bad. It's just not been like some of my main guys have been progressing well. Like a few of my rares, a lot of my younger guys seem to be progressing a bit better than the older guys, I'd say. Well, it's probably the most sensible reason if it was happening. But I don't know. It doesn't feel like a miles off for where it's been before to me. Like just like my gallery. But it also feels like it's no exciting whenever I'm checking in the morning. It's wee sort of dribs and drabs at times.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Like for me, I noticed that my sort of progression has been sort of horrendous first thing in the morning, but it's been way better sort of like from matches. And obviously, like your players get progression through increases in XP, and that XP can come at any time. So it's entirely possible that like that's just the way it's worked for my gallery this season. But again, it does feel slightly lower. Now, I've got like a Jimbo saying hashtag tinfoil hats. I don't know whether that's the hashtag on the When Dirt this week. I'll have to listen to the rest to find out. But if not, it's a good hashtag anyway. My theory is that what used to happen with training is everybody would come out the gates hard. At the start of the season, you get all these like massive progression cycles. And then back end of the season, everybody would be complaining about it being broken. It's like, oh, what's happened to training? Nothing's happening. And that's essentially because like everything was equal, but you get less match XP at the end of the season because match XP is sort of capped, I think. I mean, I could be completely wrong with this, but I think it's sort of capped at a certain level. So, when your players have played, say, 20 games, they're not really going to get much more XP from playing more games. So by the end of the season, progression does tend to slow down from that point of view. Now, my only thought was maybe they've, rather than giving sort of, if you're in a 12-team league, 1/22nd of a fraction of the XP that you get for the season from training, rather than doing that equally across every match, maybe they've weighted the training slightly higher towards the end of the season so that it balances out against the lower amount of XP that you're getting from matches during the end of the season. So you get a more balanced picture across the season. Now, I don't know whether that's right or not, but that was the only thing that I could come up with, apart from sort of the power creep reason, which does, again, feel fairly intuitive. The only thing I would say with that is that, like, would MFL, is it like every person's progression cycle is locked in when that card is sort of minted? So is it possible for them to sort of change that? Like, because you're still getting the same progression cycle. If a player's prime age is 24, then they still need to get the certain amount of XP to reach that prime age at 24.
You're also nerfing someone's actual NFT that they've paid money for, and like,
yeah,
I don't think you could say, right, you know what, we're going to make this guy, he's not going to be 80 rated when he's meant to be. We're going to make it a few years later on his age. Like,
well, that would be the same for every single person, wouldn't it?
Aye, but still, it's like every single person. But that devaluing my player, who's maybe I'm going to sell him when he hits an 80, and I'm like, I would never know because it's all hidden. But like now, I can't sell him because they have said he's progressing later in his career when he's less valuable as a asset to someone. So that's why I didn't think that would be what it would make sense if it was just like Champ Manager, a game that's not got like a lot of money involved. But I don't know. I didn't think they. And in your one as well, like it's set when they're minted, like they've got their prime age and that kind of thing. So,
which is why I don't believe that they've actually slowed down the amount of XP to slow down power creep. I think it's more likely that they've just rebalanced. We've got Jimbo in the chat, and he said if they've changed it, which he doesn't believe they have, it'd be very poor of them to not communicate that. And I do agree that if they've done it for power creep, it would make sense, and like they really should be sort of announcing that. But if they've just sort of changed it, tweaked it a little bit so that actually you get sort of more XP from training towards the back end of the season to counter the fact you're getting less from matches, would they need to announce that? You're still getting the same amount of training XP during the season. It's just been slightly differently balanced when you get it.
I suppose you'd expect him to update the white paper if that was a change. To be honest, I don't know what it's been a long time since I've looked at it, so I don't know what it says about that now. But if it was a big change like that and it was different through what's announced, you'd expect him to. But I just like, I don't know. I just didn't think. I think it's. I think my gallery or my agency is kind of fine, but like, as I say, it feels a wee bit. It does feel a wee bit slower, but loads of my guys are kind of like how I'd expect them to be. Like I didn't expect huge progression every single day, but I like it, and when it happens, it's brilliant. And when it doesn't happen, I'm like, has it been nerfed?
Yeah, you could be right. I mean, I'm still getting sort of decent XP or decent progression on some of the players. Like I've got a goalkeeper here who I minted. I didn't need another goalkeeper. I thought, oh God, not another bloody goalkeeper. I think he's short as well. Yeah, 5'9", same height as me. And he went +4 first season, didn't do anything the next season. Then he went +3. This season he's already gone +3. So he's fine. Got another guy here, Alex Santana. I don't know when he went up again. But yeah, he's +3 this season as well. So, maybe I'm thinking absolute bollocks. It's entirely possible. Got Liam Tomlinson, the guy that I packed with Peroni, who's been an absolute stud. He had slightly slower progression actually last season, but this season he's +3 already, and he's absolutely smashing it. And he's +5 as a striker. So, I am still getting it. It just feels slower across the rest of the board. Like, I think last season I'd had more like multiple players, especially on sort of the lower new mints that I have through and ones that I've put freshly into sort of dev jail. But we're here for the speculation, aren't we? So who knows? But
I noticed that newer mints, they've progressed quite well. I say quite well, like 1s and 2s, but quite a few of my newer ones for like the last season or two have been going quite well. The youngsters especially.
We're still seeing those absolute studs, aren't we? In like the, like people have got cards are absolutely going,
nuts.
Rockets, aren't they? Like, I don't look in all the Discords. I look in our Discord, and I know that, there was some cards posted yesterday that have just been absolutely meteoric rises, and they're still continuing to go up like that. So we're definitely still getting those absolute sort of nutty progression players. But I just wish I had more of them in my gallery. I know, is it Trading Places that used to buy them? And I know he had loads of them at one point. But I don't know whether he's still been buying those, sort of looking out for those sort of guys that have been getting sort of that, that really strong progression and sort of moving it up. But Whitehouse, when you're buying players, I'm assuming you look at progression. How much do you weigh that against the actual card? Like if there's a card that you really want, you look at his progression and he's sort of flatlined for 2 seasons, would that completely put you off him?
Well, I haven't really been buying many players with the last season or two, except for I was trying to fill a few holes, buying a few 83 centre mids around 23, 24. Bought a few of them. 2 of them broke to Lego this season, so that's been all right. It's kind of filling in gaps is where I'm missing. Left back, centre mid, right wing, them kind of positions. I just targeting players that are around 82 to 84 rated, hoping they'll break into Lego. That's what I've been doing. Probably overpaid on some of them last season before the crash, and I'll probably do the same again this year. Buy a few more that hope they'll break through.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, like, yeah, I do exactly the same. I look for, and sometimes I don't care whether they're a little bit older as well. I'm happy to sort of go in there and buy like a couple of older guys, especially if it looks like they're still getting progression, because, I could get another 10 seasons out of them. And, I've paid like, $50 for 82 rated players that are now legendaries, and that's just, my budget means that's the way I have to play the game. I can't afford to go out and buy these absolute stars who are already on heaters and, already sort of massive Legos. I think my biggest signing was a striker that I bought who's been an absolute superstar for me, but it is quite sort of difficult going out and getting them. I guess like there was some criticism levied towards MFL for the numbers of pack drops at the start of the season. I thought they would definitely do less. I haven't spoken to them about it. I thought they would do less, but they've done a lot less than I thought. Now, do you think that's a reaction to like the criticism they got first time round? Say, we listen, or do you think that is, like mid-season pack drops generally a little bit lower anyway, but this one is substantially lower than we've had in the past? Do you think that's down to the fact that they've seen the numbers, that there's less people sort of like, buying players at the moment, and they don't want to flood the market? Because they're pretty good normally about sort of increasing, keeping prices relatively stable. Like they've gone down at the moment, but I've been playing it since November, and I've had the prices go up, then down, then up, then down again. So, and that's generally based on the number of packs that they mint. What are your thoughts on sort of the pack drop numbers, Whitehouse?
I'm happy to see him go back down a little bit, because I did think there was a little bit of oversupply creeping into the game, especially with the start of the season pack drop. I thought the numbers were a little bit too high, to be honest. So I'm happy. I think they've listened and seen what the community was saying, and the market obviously dictates that. So that's why I think they've reduced the numbers for the mid-season drop.
Yeah. What do you think, Hoodwink?
I think both the conversations about them, plus for the not to sell out on the night and then have to open it up so you could buy multiple ones of like the uncommons or the standard packs. I think they would have realised then that I think they made a mistake there, and they've been really aggressive with them this time with the drops. Like really, like was it like half, maybe something like that?
Yeah, these are the lowest numbers I can remember since obviously the limited packs weren't around when we started, but I don't remember them being this low since maybe sort of maybe the start of the year, maybe sort of like the first pack drop I went to was this low, but yeah, it's been a while since they've been this low. But yeah, no, I think it's a good thing. Obviously, there's probably less demand for players at the moment. Other Web3 games, one in particular, sort of drags a lot of resource, people's money at the start of the season. That sort of tails away as the season goes on. And I would expect people, we've already had some people come back, and I would expect people to come back, or people to become more engaged with the game as the, real football season drags on.
No, I think because I've been on like a year and a half or something like that, I've seen kind of the peaks and troughs for prices and stuff like that, and they've always reacted very sensibly. So it doesn't surprise me that they've done their research, looked at feedback, looked at their sales, looked at everything, and decided to go like that, because they're just always really, really on the ball. So
yeah, they are. I can't remember. I think it might have been the AMA that Matt did with Jimbo when they were talking about sort of, player numbers. And I think that one of the KPIs that they use to monitor sort of the health of the economy is like number of active teams to players. And I think, if I remember rightly, the number that Matt mentioned was about 30 players per team, which makes sense because then you sort of take into account that some of those players will be in dev jail, some of those players will be near retirement. So, that seems like a fair number, maybe a little bit high considering you can only have 25 people on a squad. But, it's definitely in the right ballpark. And I think that's what they aim at generally, to try and sort of make sure that, the economy is stable and, prices like, you could be buying cards now and they could be worth 50% more in 4 months' time. And then everybody's complaining card prices are too expensive again, or they could drop back down again. And, you've got the same issue, so I think that these cycles will happen with any game. But who's getting involved with the pack drop tonight? Hoodwink.
Maybe.
I'm not going to say it this time, I'm not going to, I want to get involved with it, but I literally haven't got a bean until next Monday. So I unfortunately probably won't be able to buy any packs tonight, which is heartbreaking, especially as what will happen. The person in the Ramble bought that buys one of the packs will definitely get a Lego tonight, and it could have been me.
Not even a wee £5 one, a wee $5.
I just don't know whether I need sort of players that low at the moment.
Well, you could get a Lego.
Yeah, you could do. Let's see how much money we've got in the old monkey wallet. Let's see if I've got a bean in there. Fingers crossed. Oh, 20. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
Is that limited and
yeah. Oh, I don't know. I just like buying rares. I like that guarantee of having a rare. What about you, Whitehouse?
I probably won't go for a pack this drop, to be honest. I'll probably
I'm guaranteeing that someone in the Ramble Discord is going to get a legendary.
No, I'll probably make a purchase or two this mid-season, to be honest, instead of buying a pack, because I have a lot of players rated 74 and then up to 78, that kind of range, and I kind of need something a bit better, to be honest. So I prefer to keep my money and buy an older Lego and try put him into that plat team to see can he help second half of the season. That's the plan. And also Bob might be helping me out with another midfielder as well. We'll be chatting to him. So hopefully that comes through as well, and then kick on with the rest of the season.
Yeah, and Bob's a legendary in himself, isn't he? So, he's obviously got, a lovely gallery of cards, and he's always willing to help when he can, as long as it doesn't hurt his teams. He's a great guy, Bob. Apart from when he bloody comes on the Ramble watch-alongs on his phone in the garden. We love you, Bob, though. A little bit of Bob is better than no Bob. So, yeah, like as far as pack drop goes, I always used to buy packs, but I also always used to have the players that I needed. If I didn't get them in my pack, I'd immediately go to the market, search by newest card, put in the filters I want, and see what kept popping up. Because people will often get cards like if you play a 3-back and you get left back, you're going to list him on the market. You're not going to use him. So, often you'll see cards get listed, and sometimes they're decent cards, and sometimes you can get a decent deal, and swoop in there pretty quickly. But so yeah, historically in the past, that's the way I've gone, trying to sort of go in there and actually sort of find them. But Hoodwink.
I was going to say people can list their packs on the site now as well instead of using floaty.
Do you think people will do that?
Aye. Of course they will.
Do you think, because it's a bit cheaper, isn't it, flipping them on floaty still? I think I've sold one pack on floaty there my whole time.
They're going to add a 20% fee on these packs, aren't they? I don't know if it's this time or if it's for the next drops, but I'm sure people would probably buy them on floaty, I think, but it's quite a high fee to discourage it. But
Oh, you'll buy them on Floaty, yeah, but would you sell them on? Sorry, you'll buy them on the site, but would you sell them on the site? I mean, it's not really an issue for me anyway. Whitehouse, do you ever sell packs, or do you just like rip them?
No, rip everything. The minute the money comes in, last season opened 7 rare packs and a few uncommons. Usually never keep at as well. Just rip from myself and see what I can get.
Yes, a fellow DGen.
Yeah.
Just having a look on the market now if they've got any there. We've got. You can still get like a pack on there now. $95 for a standard pack. I'm not sure whether that'll sell. Feels a bit overpriced, but I think if anything, standard packs, because you can still get the chance of getting sort of decent cards, probably a decent value still. But whatever 49, like rare packs, you really need to be hitting sort of an 80 plus card, don't you, to sort of make them worthwhile at the moment. But yeah. But yeah, one of us is definitely getting a legendary anyway. It probably won't be me unless I can sort of, empty the coins, go and take them to the bank, get them paid in, transfer the money over to Dapper, but we'll try and find a way. But I wish the pack drop was next week, really, because then I'd have the money. But anyway, right. Anything else you chaps want to speak about before we get out of here this week?
I'd just like to say a big thank you to Kev, because since joining, he's been the fella that's really helped me along the way, helped me get up them divisions. Always willing to answer a DM anytime of day. And then also Bob and Sid helped me out this season a lot. Especially Sid, I loaned him my highest rated card for his team in Diamond, but he also gave me 3 guys on a low percent. So without them, I wouldn't even be playing at that level, to be honest. So to shout out to the Kev, Bob, and Sid.
Yeah,
really helpful.
All 3 of them are absolute legendary guys, and I know exactly. Even from my point of view, the main person I speak to about tactics probably is Kev, and we sort of have a lot of back and forward, and when things aren't going well, and sort of a bit of a sounding board about sort of ideas about ways that we can sort of crack the engine, and he definitely helped me more than I help him. Although this season maybe not, but in previous seasons he's always been the guy that's helped me massively sort of overcome sort of hurdles within my teams. But yeah, he's an absolute legend, and the guys you mentioned, all of them absolute, brilliant guys to sort of have in the Discord and the community as well. But right, how are you? Good. Sorry. Spacking out, but yeah, I think that's everything from this week, and we shall be back next week as always. And thank you very much to Whitehouse for joining us. Looked like you should have been in your kitchen all along.
Yeah, change the location. Look, it worked. Yeah,
we've had a tour of your house, but yeah. I'm glad we found a stable connection towards the end anyway. But yeah, really enjoyed having you on. It's always great to listen to someone new, and really enjoyable trying to sort of like find out how different people within the ecosystem, whether that's sort of like somebody in the lower divisions or somebody in the higher divisions, is getting on. But great, always good to see you, Hoodwink, and we should be back next week. Bye.